we're going to bring in our investor. And our investor today is Sarah Dusek. So Sarah Dusek is the founder and is a founder of Undercanvas. So built Undercanvas, which is like a glamping company. They've kind of popularized glamping in the States. They built that amazing company, sold it. Sarah and Jake sold it for over $100 million, and then they came here to Africa again. Like Sarah worked in Zimbabwe, and they're now investing in startups in Africa. But being entrepreneurs, they also understand the challenges that entrepreneurs have in terms of like understanding how hard it is and how hard you're all working trying to make this happen. And so like what do you need to do to make things happen? And then they're investing in SADC. So there are two funds. One is just Enygma Ventures, which invests in women businesses in the 16 SADC countries. Then the other one is Shift Fund, which invests in anybody, male or female, and different sectors. And let's listen to Sarah. Let's see.
Hey, Sarah, so nice to have you on the call today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Really, really great to be here with everybody.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I think a nice place to start would be to learn a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur yourself and what you went through, whether the fundraising process was easy for you at that time, and how did that inspire your current journey as an investor?
Yeah, I am an investor today with Enygma Ventures, one of the managing partners, but I have not always been an investor. I have actually been an entrepreneur for more of my life than an investor. In the last decade, I spent building a company called Undercanvas in the US. And like many of you guys who are listening in, I bootstrapped my company for the longest time. And what does bootstrap mean? Bootstraps means you literally pull yourself up by your bootstraps, in that you fund your company yourself. You literally find a way through beg, borrowing, pleading, to make it work. You drive sales to build your business, and you do it the hard way. Bootstrapping's really hard, and it limits how fast you can grow, because you can only, the fuel that you put in the fire is the money that you put in the business, right? So that's how I built the business for the longest time, until I learned there was this magical vehicle called venture capital. And I knew nothing. I knew nothing about how the markets worked, how that investors put money into businesses. It was this whole revolutionary idea. I mean, I had an idea that banks lent money to businesses and that you could go to a bank and get a loan. I also realized that there are very few things that banks will lend businesses money for. And getting a loan is really quite hard too. And then I learned that if we were really going to sort of grow our business and really do any kind of scale, that we needed a real injection of cash into the business, and that the only way to do that was really in the form of having an investor come on board with us and back us. And so I went on this crazy journey of trying to understand this whole new world, and my lack of knowledge about the space really has inspired why I'm an investor today, because it feels like the folks who are able to put capital into their business are such a small segment of society, right? You typically have to know somebody who knows somebody, or you went to school with somebody, or you've spent time in Silicon Valley, or you went to a US university, that you've just moved in circles that money is moving in. Okay. And for most of us, that's not the case, right? That is not normal for most of us. And so the reason I became an investor was just this sense of wanting to democratize who gets access to funding. And because who we fund affects the future of the world, right? The companies that get built, the businesses that get built transform our world, and they transform what our world looks like for all of us to live in. So that for me became a really significant piece of the journey of, you know, it shouldn't be just that a few lucky people who happen to look a particular way and speak a particular way get funding. And that's why we started Enygma Ventures.
Okay. So as an entrepreneur, did you always think big? Like when you started out on your journey, were you always feeling like, I want to make it big and this is the direction that I'm going to go? Yeah.
No. I think we were thinking about business as a solution for earning a living initially.
Yeah.
How do we earn our own living? And I think that's where a lot of us start, right? We hustle, we think about, how do I pay my bills? How do I earn a living without having to go get a job? Or, you know, I can't get a job. Let's try and make a way for myself. And that's where a lot of people start. And a lot of people never make the transition from thinking like being a small little thing that provides for you and your family to thinking big. And that transition really, really only happened for me when I feel like we stumbled into it really, but we had a realization, and I hope that joining this summit will be a realization for many of you guys, right? Because when you have something that is a thing, right? It's like, I've got a business model, I've got an idea that really could be something else. It could do a whole lot more than just provide an income for me and my family. And I got to the point in our business, and we started super small, and we had no cash, no money, no nothing. So it was, I begged, borrowed, and steal from, no stealing, but you know, from family. And I racked up some credit card debt to try and get our little business idea off the ground. And we realized when we built this teeny tiny little thing, that it could be a thing. And we suddenly sort of caught a glimpse of, wow, we could do this here and here and here and here and here. And that we could have, I built a luxury camping company. And we started with one tiny little site that became a slightly larger site that we then thought, wow, we could have a lot of these. And a bit like many of you with retail ideas, for example, you know, we have one shop or one pharmacy or, you know, one small business, and maybe it could be many. And that was the light bulb moment for me, was thinking, wow, we could actually build something that was really scalable and was really big. And we realized we had an opportunity to do something that impacted not just my and my family's lives, but many people's lives. That I could be a job creator, that I could create wealth, not just for me, but for many people. And that was revolutionary. That was a huge switch. And that is my wish for all you guys on the other end of this webinar today, is the sense of, could I do something that's bigger than myself? Could I be a value creator? Could I build something and scale something that could have enormous impact economically, physically, emotionally? You know, could it be transformative for the country? Could I do something that would leave a legacy, that would be an incredible thing to have done? And it doesn't have to be super sexy to either be able to say that about either, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be like, I have this world-changing idea, I'm going to cure cancer. It doesn't need to be that, but it needs to just be this, could I build something that's bigger than me, and maybe a couple of other people working with me? Could I? And that's an investable business, right? When you start to think about building a business that scales and that's big and that could employ more people, and could affect more customers, and could touch lots of people's lives, either through employment or services or people becoming customers, then you're talking about something that someone like me might want to invest in.
think that's a nice segue into what you're looking for now as an investor.
Yes.
What are the things that you're looking for? I think one of the most enigmatic things for entrepreneurs is really figuring out, what do investors want? So what are you looking for in investment?
Yeah, I mean, that's how do we demystify it, right? How do we tell you the secret sauce so that you can build it?
Yes.
And that you can give us what we're looking for, because we are looking to invest in people. We're looking to invest in people with great ideas, with business models that have got some traction. So what is traction? Traction's a magic word, right? We want to see proof that you've got something. Do people want what you're selling? Do they want your service? Will they pay for it? And how can you demonstrate that you've got a thing, right? Can you demonstrate that what I am doing, people want? So can you show us that you've got some traction? So that's maybe number one thing that I'm looking for, traction. Number two thing is, do you have a large market that you could address? We call that the large addressable market, which just means, in simple terms, are there enough people that I could sell my services or my products or my business to? Do I have a large enough customer pool? So if your business really only can serve 10 people, that's not a large enough addressable market, right? That means you're really going to be self-employed and you've got a small handful of customers and you've got a little business. We're looking for businesses that could sell to a lot of people. So what's your large addressable market? Is there a big market? So maybe that's number two. We're looking for businesses that could have a large market. You don't have to be serving them today, but could the business address that market? Maybe number three, we are looking at your ability to execute. So you're telling me I've got some traction, I've got a big addressable market. Now, are you believable in terms of, can you execute? Because everyone can talk the talk
now.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone can spin a story, right? Can you execute? What have you done before that demonstrates that you are capable of driving results? You know, traction is a really good evidence of this, right? If you've got no traction and a lot of talk, you're not believable. So how do you make yourself believable? How do you make yourself credible? Can you prove that I'm a hustler? I want this. I want to get this done. I've got some drive. So we look for those characteristics in you. We look at you and go, do you have what it takes to do this? Are you a dreamer? Are you a doer? Can you get this done? So that's maybe the third thing. And then maybe the last thing that I look for are great unit economics. What do I mean by that? So do you have good metrics? So what are your profit margins? Can you make any money doing what you're doing? Because it's one thing to serve a large market, right? But maybe you can't be profitable for the next 5 years. You know, maybe your costs of serving that market are way too high. So can you build a business that's got some good margin? So it's got good units and they make economic sense. So those are probably my top 4 things that, you know, right off the shelf we're looking for. Is this business a winner? Is this person a winner? And do we believe the story you're going to tell us?
For sure. And so for you, why do you believe it's important for entrepreneurs to go through programs like the ones that Startup Circles has?
Well, that is an easy answer. I heard or saw about 4,000 pitches last year. We funded 10, right? So we're funding businesses. We're actively putting money to work in entrepreneurs like all you guys on this call. But I'm looking at a lot of deals. And so if you want to get in front of me or someone like me and be successful, you need help because you need to know the best way to present, the best way to work on your business, the best way to produce the information that we're going to want. And the fastest way to do that is to get on a course like Startup Circles and get in front of people like me. And I just know the difference between listening to people who've been through startup circles and the people who have not, light years apart, light years. And so if you want to escalate your progress, if you want to speak the right language, close the gap between entrepreneur and investor, if you want to learn what it really takes, there is no better place than to be right here.
Cool. So the word out there is that there's a lot of money and just not enough businesses for investors to invest in. And so you said, as Enygma Ventures, we invested in 10 businesses. Are there other investors that you're aware of that are doing the same? Like, I think it's a real concern for entrepreneurs feeling like, are we being taken for a ride? Is there actual real money out there? Yeah.
We alone employed about $4 million last year.
Yeah.
And in Africa, across the continent, usually about $1 billion of venture capital is deployed every single year. So there absolutely is money out there looking for great investable businesses. But here's the challenge, folks. Very few businesses are what we call investor ready. There are very few businesses that are ready to take on the capital because either they haven't demonstrated enough things yet, they haven't shown that they've got enough traction, they haven't spoken the right language, they haven't communicated and sold their story in the right way. Maybe the business still is not quite perfect yet in terms of, the model of the business model still needs some work, and maybe you need a bit of help to get there. And so that for me is the biggest question. It's not are there not enough entrepreneurs out there? It's are there enough entrepreneurs out there that are investor ready? And that is why Startup Circles is so crucial in this dynamic, because we've got capital to deploy. Other venture capitalists have capital to deploy. It's like, can you access it? Can you be the one to score the A on the test? Most of us would not sit an exam, right, without studying first. And in fact, if you're going to sit an exam and you haven't studied, you're definitely going to fail. So how do you improve your chances? How do you become one of the 10 that we funded last year? How do you distinguish yourself from 4,000 down to 10? And that's where Startup Circles can really give you a leg up and help you not just work on your business, but help you work on it and get yourself funded.
From an entrepreneur perspective, did you get funding the first time you talked to a venture capitalist? Because we have a number of entrepreneurs who might have applied to Enygma Ventures before, or even have gone through a Startup Circles program and didn't the first time get funding. Like, what was your experience?
No, I mean, I must have had dozens and dozens of no's. But every no that I got, I learned something about what they were looking for. I learned why. I learned what I hadn't demonstrated, what I hadn't shown, where were the rubs, what was the issue with the business? Because I had a good business, right? Nobody was getting it, nobody was buying it. And it took time. It took a lot of time and a lot of calls. And I wish I had gone through something like Startup Circles, because I could have saved myself a lot of pain and energy to be able to pitch right and to be able to sell what I was building. But yeah, no, it's an exceptionally painful process. And, investors also have focus of businesses and some venture capitalists like to invest here, some like to invest here, some like to invest. We all have our own sort of niche. Enygma, for example, only invests in women. There are plenty of other venture firms that will invest in men and women. And so, no, I mean, the trick for an entrepreneur, though, and this is another thing that we would look for, is how determined are you? Do you get shut down by a no? Or are you able to overcome your obstacles? Because really being an entrepreneur is just solving problems after problem after problem after problem after problem. that is just really the definition of being an entrepreneur, is that you are a great problem solver. That's what you get to do for a living, right? That's how you build. You overcome obstacles and you overcome challenges. And so being tenacious, being determined is really attractive, because we know you've got some grit. We know you're gonna make it. And really, that's this name of the game, is can you stay in the arena long enough to succeed? And it takes real courage to be able to do that, and take knockbacks and take a lot of no's, and keep getting back up and keep adjusting and pivoting and learning, so that you get where you need to go.
Yeah. And so, knowing how tough this journey could be, what are your words of encouragement for entrepreneurs as we close out the conversation? It feels and sounds like a tough game. So what are your words of encouragement for entrepreneurs, for African entrepreneurs?
It is a super tough game. There's no sugarcoating that, right? But here's the skinny. Entrepreneurs are the only value creators in our world, right? So think about that for a moment. Entrepreneurs are the only people who create jobs. They're the only people who build businesses that employ other people. And so for me, entrepreneurship is like the blood in our veins. If a country if a city doesn't have a vibrant entrepreneurial community, that city will die, that the nation will die. And so to encourage you all, let me just say, you are the lifeblood of your nation. You are the lifeblood of the continent, and that without you, this continent can't rise. And my vision for Africa is, we all laugh and joke about the Black Panther movie, right? And this idea of Africa being Wakanda, and this sense that Africa has such incredible talent and knowledge and expertise and resources, and really she could rise to be even more powerful than the West. And that's my vision for Africa, that we would really rise up and take hold of a future that she's not taken hold of yet. And the only way that we do that is through entrepreneurship. That's the only way we solve some of our big world problems. That's the only way we create change, is we build businesses that solve problems, and overcome our challenges and create new futures and create opportunities. So yes, it's hard. Yes, it's difficult. But if we want to see a different Africa than we've got today, we need to get in the arena and do something about it, and not think small, think big, be the solution for the big problems that we've got, and see Africa rise and become what she can be, because there's so much talent here, there's so much resources here, there's so much natural beauty and natural ability here, and we just have to harness it, a bit like the wind, and use it as fuel to fan the flames of growth, because that's what we need. That's what we need in a post-COVID world. We need people who will rise up and say, I'm going to be part of the solution. I'm going to build, because that's what we've got to do. We've got to rebuild economies across the continent. And now's your time, ladies and gentlemen. Now is your time. We need you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been both educative and inspirational. So thank you very much for making time.